must give a full, huge, heartfelt thank you to Marquise Scott. I did a message to Marquise and said, I want to do a show on the Divine Nine. Can you help me coordinate that? He didn't just help me, he really coordinated it. These 9 representatives that you will see from these 2 weeks are because of his work and his relationships. Thank you, Marquise, for pulling this off for me. I couldn't have this show if it were not for you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I owe you big time, my brother, and I pray the Lord expands your territory. And welcome to another episode of From Surviving to Thriving. I am excited about tonight's conversation. Why? Because I have 9 guests with me, and those guests represent the Divine Nine. Yes, I have a representative from each and every one of our Black Greek organizations in conversation tonight. Let me introduce who's with me in this conversation. I have Dondrell Swanson, who is from Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. He is the Western Region Vice President. From Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, I have Shelby Bogney, who is the Far Western Regional Director. From Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, I have Timothy Woods. He is the Western Province Hallmark. From Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Andrew Davis. He is the 12th District, 1st Vice District Representative. From Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, there is Tracy Akins. She is the Far West Regional Director. I have with me from Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Melvin Hall, who is the President of the Alpha Epsilon Sigma Graduate Chapter. From Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, I have Patricia Spencer, who is the Arizona State Director. And from Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, Denise TrimbleSmith, who is the Vice Chair Centennial Committee. And bringing up the 9th is Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. The State Director of the Gamma Sigma Omega Chapter is TR Badger. These 9 joined me for a conversation about the relevance of Black Greek organizations in today's society. I have to give you fair warning. This was a wonderful conversation, and after we all bid our fond farewells, my representative from Alpha Kappa Alpha, thinking the conversation was over, logged off because the conversation was over. But as they were thanking me for the conversation, another conversation started. So please note that there is a segment of this that does not have representation from the AKAs, and that was not by design. It was just how it happened. I just thought the conversation we started having was so important about Greek sororities and the church that it needed to be recorded. So please forgive me to all of my AKA friends out there. This was not intentional. There are also a couple little snafus with people and technology. If COVID hasn't told us anything else, it has told us and shown us who really holds all the cards, and that's technology. We have a couple little snafus, but it's all right because it's a great conversation with these representatives of the Divine Nine. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope everybody's doing well today.
Good evening.
Hello. Good evening.
I think it might be no small feat that I have a representative from each Black Greek organization on Zoom together. So thank you again for each one of you being with me. I'm just very excited about this conversation that we're getting ready to have. There seems to be more information or desire to have information about Greek organizations because now we have a vice president who is a part of the Divine Nine, which kind of really put it center stage. Not that it hasn't been center stage before, but this is really special. So I wanted to do this episode to help people get a better understanding of what a Greek organization is about and why potentially they would want to be a part of a Greek organization. So let's start at why. Why would a young person or a not so young person, because I am not a member of a Greek organization, why would someone desire to become a part of your organization? Who wants to start it off?
Pastor Stewart, thank you so much for inviting us. I'm so excited to see everyone here working together, talking with you, and sharing this information. I'm Patricia Spencer, the Arizona State Director for Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And I can tell you that the reason why people should look into Greek letter organizations is because it's the best way to make you the best person that you can be. Our organizations are all about service. It gives you an organized way to contribute to your community, to support your community, and to do you in the best way that you can. All of our organizations reach out in our communities. We like to get our hands dirty. We like to support our children, women, men, everyone all around the world. And we do that in various ways with the programmatic thrust of each of our organizations. But really, the reason you want to be in a Greek letter organization, in my opinion, is to be able to support your communities and do it in the way that's best tailored for you.
Would someone like to add to that? Does she speak for all of you, or are there more reasons? Because I'm also curious as to what prompted you individually to get in.
I think there are more reasons. If you look at the history, of African Americans over the past, 115, 16 years, you will see that those individuals who have been preeminent members of any African American movement have probably been a member of a Black Greek lettered organization. So Black Greek lettered organizations have provided the training ground for some of the best and the brightest African Americans in this country. So when a young person, when they're at school and they're looking to be something or do something in life, if they look at an African American male, African American female, and specifically if you're at a historically Black university, you will probably see that individual is probably a member of a Black Greek lettered organization.
Okay. Someone else want to add to that?
Yeah, Pastor Stewart, Melvin Hall, chapter president locally, the Alpha Epsilon Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. On behalf of our Western Region Director, Brother Kedrick Dawes, State Director, Brother Warren Brown, I bring greetings to esteemed guests and brethren and sisters. And I'd like to say, when you're thinking about joining any organization, the key or one of the drivers is your belief of wanting to give back and to pay it forward. So, why join an organization? The camaraderie. It's a group of men or women who share the same or mostly the same ideal, core values and beliefs. The networking. Again, the only way to become a member is to go to college. So you're talking about people that have sacrificed, given back of themselves and want to give even more. And then you're talking about the networking abilities. One of the areas that people of color we struggle with is using our resources. And when you're surrounded by people that have greater resources than you, have greater knowledge or access to information, and you're a part of a family, now you have the ability to share it. And in that collective knowledge comes collective strength. So camaraderie, networking, and the ability to pay it forward, I would say, are three key drivers in why you should join an organization.
Okay. So how would someone determine which is the best organization for them? I see lots of ladies here, and I would be like, how would I know which is the best fit? And same for the fellas. How do you know which is the one that you should be a part of?
Pastor Karen, this is Tracy Ricard Akins, member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Far West Regional Director. Thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity just to come and share a little bit about our organizations. But certainly when you are on that campus, I like to think you look around and there is just so much that indeed you do see. But what you see most of all is what that organization is doing. Because if all you see is, oh, they showing out at the party, well, maybe that's not it. But on the other hand, if you see them, as someone said earlier, getting their hands dirty, that's probably where you want to go. Because for Delta Sigma Theta, it really is all about service. We were started from a social action perspective. So for us, service is everything. I also think back when you look at someone who is on a college campus, you're looking at two types of individuals. Someone who may have been raised in an environment where everyone was Greek. Your mother was Greek, your father was Greek, your aunts, your uncles. That's the environment that you come from. So when you set on that campus, you already know what you want to do. But then you also have that other individual, maybe first generational to college. They may not necessarily know. So they are looking to find a home. They will find a home based on their individual uniqueness, their characters, where they blend in, because every organization isn't for every individual. So it also has to do with that college campus. In some areas, some organizations are more prominent than others. So it has a lot to do with really who you are and where you are and how you make your decision. But certainly I'll say in Delta Sigma Theta, if you want to get your hands a little dirty and come out and do a little work, we are definitely the organization for you. Thank
Thank
you.
you for that. I think you were going to say something, Dondrell, as well.
Well, sure. I echo a lot of the sentiments that have already been stated, but I would just add that everyone's journey into an organization is a little bit different. And so we may have a lot of commonality, and a lot of that is rooted in the experience, the cultural experience that many of us have. But once we get into a place where we're deciding upon organizations, as you spend more and more years in the organizations, you start to hear various stories of what led. I think Tracy touched on it. Sometimes it's, hey, I grew up in a certain environment, so that's what I want to be. Sometimes it's, I grew up in a certain environment, so that's how I knew that's not what I wanted to be. And sometimes it's, hey, the girl I was dating really liked this, and so we got into that. I mean, there are a lot of different influences that kind of drive us to different organizations. For me, and I had the privilege of joining in college, and I just want to put a little pin in that. I'm gonna come back to in a second, but I think a lot of folks end up joining at the alumni level, and their experience is yet very different than those of us who joined in college. Sometimes they had the interest in college, but not the opportunity. And sometimes they grew their interest at a later point in life based upon some of that community engagement that the organization was involved in. For me, at a young age, I saw myself on this campus with folks, and I looked into my what I envisioned to be my future. And I thought I would live in circumstances that were better than the ones that I was in when I came to college. Right. And I knew that I wanted to have a network of like-minded individuals that not only my children could be around and grow up with, but that also I would have the opportunity to stay connected. Like if I left work and I had to take a certain part of me off, when I got to put it back on, I knew I wanted to be engaged in these organizations. And that played a big role for me.
Okay. TR, I see your hand. Is there something you wanted to add as well?
Oh, definitely, for sure. I echo all the sentiments and thoughts that were just presented by the other prestigious people of their organizations. But to further piggyback and follow up on that, to further elaborate, I think it's up to the individual to identify as far as what they want from themselves, because a part of college is beyond just getting a degree. You're also learning about yourself. I mean, those are the intricate years where you're really learning and just trying to cultivate yourself and matriculate into the person who you want to be. And so whatever organization or even Greek organization that you happen to see in your local environment, first and foremost, you definitely want to, do your research as far as what that organization stands for, because each organization has a mission, a goal, and a certain theme. And so with that comes with a certain culture within their identity. So you first want to identify yourself and see if that organization, shares some of the characteristics and identities along with it. Now, there's also a caveat to that, because I'm only speaking for myself as far as from my experience. Iota Pi Theta wasn't the first organization I had an interest in. There was other Greek organizations I had an interest in, but, I kind of took my time and got a chance to, get to know them, because, I feel like sometimes, this is just my opinion, of certain interests that fall into organizations. I would often ask them, what is the reason? What do you see yourself, if you were happen to be in this organization, what do you see yourself doing in the next 5, 10 years? It's kind of similar to life questions. What do you see yourself doing in the next 5 to 10 years? And so that also can apply to a Greek life, because when you commit and pledge, this is a life commitment. And so you definitely want to identify yourself with the best organization that not only reflects you, but you reflect them. It's kind of binary. And so I would always think to myself, alluding to what the brother of Alpha Phi Alpha said, you want to be surrounded by like-minded individuals. And so I always thought, and I looked around at IOTA at my campus and saw that not only they were like-minded, but they were elevated. Like, they showed through their action that beyond just the school, they were there for their communities. They were really cared about, growing their own, and as well as having business like-minded, because some of them were business owners. And so I thought it was very important that I surrounded myself with not just like-minded, but elevated, that will teach me based off their actions. And I've learned in every organization that whatever organization that you think about joining, you really want to know what they stand for, because I've learned that not every chapter represents the actual theme of that main organization. So I asked myself, how can you represent an international organization? Because all the Divine Nines are international. So I would ask myself, how are you going to represent a international org if your local ain't straight? So that's like another burden that you have to climb if you feel like they don't reflect that identity of the mission statement, because each member of the sorority and fraternity has very prestigious historical leaders in the past before our time that really carried that tradition. So I take it seriously as far as that, with the theme of what each sorority and fraternity represents, it's up to me to carry on and make that better.
I appreciate that. I like what you said. It's not just finding out how you fit with them, but it's also the reverse, how they fit with you. I really appreciate the way you put that. I want to circle back. Oh, yes. Who wanted to say something? Go
Oh,
ahead.
no, I was gonna, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Steph.
Well, I just want to say I want to greet all my brothers and sisters on here today, and it is a pleasure to see you all. I wanted to say about your journey. So my dad was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and my mother a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So I am one of those, students that came knowing what I was gonna do. And I was an alpha sweetheart, because it was, my parents were very active as graduate members, and so I watched them, and they it was a big part of our life, the Greek life. And so I came in already informed about what I wanted to do. But I would say that when you do show up and want to make a decision about an organization, you really want to see what you can give, yes, and what you're going to actually get back. What is that going to be? Because the networking is lifelong, the mission and our service is lifelong. And so you can't be tired of it. It really, if it is all about they party the best, that's probably not going to take you through. You're probably going to become inactive after school. So I encourage those to really look, are you like-minded with that group of individuals? Are they, and has there been sustainable work on your campus? And I think if you're thinking about coming in as a graduate, you also want to look at who is in that organization, in that chapter, and who do you know? What do you know about? Because we look for, and I'm sure my brothers and sisters here, we look for very esteemed, very accomplished individuals on the graduate level. So you want to also find out what that is. But for all the years that all of us collectively have been doing, service in our communities and inspiring young people to be, I think one of my other sisters said this, the best they can be. Joining a Divine Nine organization is so enriching for your life. And so I think my last word would be consider. joining one of the Divine Nine organizations. And we're happy if it's Alpha Kappa Alpha, of course.
Andrew, I think you were going to share as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Pastor Stewart. And good evening to all of my brothers and sisters out there. Yeah, I just wanted to actually share, piggybacking on what Shelby stated. I'm actually on the opposite side. I did not have any Greek influences in my family. I'm actually one of 13 children, next to the youngest, but I was the first to go to college in my family. I ended up going into engineering at a school way in the northern parts of Michigan, Michigan Tech University. There were no Black Greek letter organizations on that campus. I joined as an undergraduate. Actually, I was a charter member. We actually brought the chapter of Omega to Michigan Tech. And our motivation was not so much, aligning ourselves with like-minded individuals. There were very few of us on campus. I can remember arriving on campus in the mid 80s, and I could go several weeks without seeing a person who looks like me. But once the university expressed an interest in recruiting minorities, we looked for an opportunity and a draw to get, how do we get people to come up to the, who look like us to come up to that school that's so far away from home in the middle of winter and snow up to the buildings, up to the top of buildings. But nevertheless, that's one of our motivations for pulling together that desire to go out and bring an organization to campus. We did our research, and that's one of the things, again, I think we echoed that quite a few times here. Do your research. Make sure that the organization that you're planning to become a part of aligns with your ideas and principles. I'm the son of a Baptist minister. I've always been in the mode of service as an individual. I look now for opportunities in which I can expand and leverage available resources to further my purpose and my goal. And that's really what Omega brought to the table for me. As again, the fundamental principle of service. It allowed me to do more by leveraging resources around me. And that was one of the things that we wanted to do, bring more people who look like us into engineering, grow the presence of African-American minorities on campus, and then again, take that message and spread it abroad. So certainly, again, I echo everything that was said here in terms of, again, why people join organizations and what you should do. Make sure, again, that it aligns with your principles and your ideas.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for your responses to that question. I think that is very informative, that we can do our research. I want to get back to something that I heard Dondrell say. He said that, and I might have heard it from someone else as well, that you can pledge undergraduate, you can pledge graduate chapter. Just by a show of hands, how many of you pledged undergraduate? Okay, about half of you. So what is the difference between pledging undergraduate and graduate chapter? And are there benefits to either or? Yes, sir.
Well, I think I can speak for everyone on this one. Pledging doesn't exist anymore.
Thank you.
You know,
I told you I'm greedy. I don't know nothing. Thank you.
Yeah, that's not a comfortable term, you know, on any level. In fact, that term is kind of in our Me Too closet.
Okay.
You know,
well, why didn't someone tell me I was cussing? I mean,
you know,
like I might have been doing. Please, I'm so sorry.
No worries. Pledging is a term that indicates and is generally associated with hazing.
Yes.
And that has been a stain that we have all, even today, have been still attempt to keep control of and to change the narrative, because it gives all of our organizations such an unfair stigma and black eye. So the processes we have today versus becoming a member through the intake process on a graduate level really should be one and the same. It's a very controlled, very efficient, and very streamlined methodology across the board. Now, if you want to talk about back in the day, yeah, there was differences, and you know, those differences kind of, in my opinion, It's just an MPO, a Mel's personal opinion. At the end of the day, it's only worth $1.25, and it's devaluing very badly. However, back in the day, it was symptomatic of problems we face within our own community, even today, in creating a division. Because if you didn't pledge, then you weren't viewed as hard. You didn't earn your letters, and you were deemed or looked differently in some circles. Whereas the battle isn't whether you pledged or you came in through the grad. It is, what are you doing? What is your level of commitment? What is the service that you are providing to the organization? So the processes should be the same, with the goal of creating better leaders, better men, better women, better husbands, better fathers, better sons. So that is how I would answer that in 2021. If you want to take this conversation back, then we can all share, at least on the undergraduate level, the horror stories. And just for the record, I pledged at 27.
Okay.
So I being pledged by 19 and 20 and 21-year-olds. So, we all have our stories. However, for those that went through the undergraduate level, it's why we are here today. It's part of that camaraderie, that networking, that bond, and that love. And I'll tell you right now, I go through it all again today, staying up to 4 o'clock in the morning, washing people's cars, cooking their food, cleaning their houses, changing their babies' diapers, the whole nine, because at the end of the day, it's the love of being able to give back to others. And that's what our service is about.
Yes.
So let me opine real quick for the the regional directors who are on the call, the four of us. We need to make a distinction about what our good brother just said, that is a custom and tradition that has long passed, that all of us have a specific intake process that you need to go through in order to become members of the various organizations. Or what I would say the difference between coming through as an undergraduate and coming through as an alumni member is, when you look at the selection process, is as an undergraduate, you really are looking at, I would call, lumps of coal. You're looking at young people who are anywhere, sometimes traditionally, 18 to 21 years old, and you're trying to make a decision on them because college is just so short that you're taking a chance on an individual based on their academic record and some of the things that they've done in their lives, and you're taking a shot on them. And as our undergraduates, we take a lot of shots, and we sometimes we hit a home run, like with Kamala Harris, and sometimes we don't. But then on the alumni level, what I think all of us are looking for is, we're not looking for lumps of coal. We're looking for polished individuals who can represent our organizations and can come in and do work in the organization pretty much immediately. We're looking for grown folks to do grown folks things. And so if you're looking at coming into any of these organizations, and you're looking to have the undergraduate experience of strolling, stepping, going to parties and going to things like that, this is at the alumni level. That's not really what we do. Not that we can't do it, and not that we don't do it at times.
I think you might have offended people when you said.
No, you need to say that again, because that is absolutely correct. You cannot go back.
You cannot go back. So you need to have a mindset of why I'm in this organization. Now, what I would tell you as if you're coming into these organizations as an alumni member, you need to understand that these organizations were founded by undergraduates for the specific purpose of mentoring and nurturing undergraduates. So you need to understand that, and that's part of the alumni. Part of this is is mentoring undergraduates so that we stay relevant on campuses.
Ah, I appreciate that point. TR, I see your hand as well. You have a comment?
Yes, what Brother Timothy and what Brother Melvin spoke about is absolutely true. Um, I would kind of frame it as the difference between the undergrad and graduate. I kind of will equate it to like a sport. It's like rookie versus veteran. Because usually, as far as with the younger folks in the undergrad, you see them as potential as far as how to groom them to become a particular brother or sister as they become older and learn through the traditions of whatever the organization stands on. Mainly, most of all of us as Divine Nines have the same tradition and growth mechanism. It's all about kind of the process in between and just kind of the small differences that kind of define our identity. But in the alumni level, as the other brothers have definitely eloquently spoke, it's a different mindset because, it's kind of like a veteran perspective where, you're kind of established. I mean, one would think that they're established further in their lives as far as possibly graduating college, having a career, and then surrounding yourself with other elevated people. And then if they're within that organization that you thought about that you didn't pull the trigger to join in college, you have that other opportunity to join at a better opportunity on a different platform. Now you feel more emboldened to be surrounded around guys that are similar to you that could help and build you up, as well as representing what the fraternity and sorority stands for in their theme. So I kind of equate it to like, a rookie versus veteran, and then potential versus production, because then when you're at the alumni level, now it's all about production is what you do. I think the kind of misconception, as Brother Melvin had spoke about, as far as, in college when, certain people cross and become in the orgs at undergrad, and then if they run across another brother, sister, and you hear their place process different than yours, there's this quote unquote stigma of paper. But like Brother Melvin said, it's about what you do, because anybody could get to a certain place. The more question is, it's one thing to get there, it's another thing to maintain it. So it's one thing to obtain, it's another thing to maintain. And so that's where the real work and definition comes in, is after you cross. Getting there is one thing, but maintaining it's another thing.
All right,
Pastor
thank you.
Stewart,
Yes.
there's just one more element I'd like to share. Thank you to my brothers out there who are really eloquently stating exactly where we're coming from in terms of pledging and what is no longer pledging, which is an intake process. In 1990, the National Panhellenic Council, which is the organization that all of our organizations belong to, that's how we came up with the Divine Nine. In 1990, we came together and made a statement that there would no longer be pledging, that our membership process would be an educational process that built bonds and represented what each of our organizations was trying to instill in not just our undergraduate members, but all of our members. And we've continued that process to date. Now, of course, we have all heard the stories about different organizations, whether they're Black Greek lettered or not. Just today, 2 organizations, I believe in Missouri or somewhere, had an issue. We've heard those stories about the hazing, as my brother Hall said, but what's most important is that we need to recognize that our process now is about helping to share our history, educate people who come into our organizations, uplifting our organizations, and being a true example of what we actually do versus a type of initiation as we had back in the early 80s and prior to that, before that 1990 decision that we collectively came to. So you weren't saying a bad word, pledging was a thing, but we have come into a different reality and understanding of what joining a Greek letter organization really means. And none of our founders were ever hazed. None of our founders ever pledged. So we tried to reach back and create an environment that's indicative of what they started.
Thank you. Tracy, I think you had a comment as well, and then I'll come over to you, Denise.
I did. I simply wanted to say, certainly membership intake is very, very, very important to us. And even in this time of a pandemic, some of us are still proceeding with membership intake activities, though they are done in a virtual environment. And I heard someone mention paper. That is now what we have to really get over. So that's a conversation that I have with some of my new initiates, because I need to remind them that you were selected to be a member of this organization because of your upcoming leadership skills. So with your leadership skills, I'm going to need you to stand up and say, no, I'm not paper. I didn't skate to get in. I did what I was supposed to do. I followed all the rules, and now I am a member, and I have a 6-digit membership number, just like everyone else at the end of the day. And that's what we need them to understand. Leave what happened in the past. And I think sometimes we have a tendency to glorify some of those stories. And when we glorify some of those stories, people still want to have input or participate in some of those activities. But just as in real life, we move on, we progress. Well, in our organizations, we too have moved on. We have progressed to a different way of doing something. And that is now membership intake.
All right, thank you. Denise, you were going to make a comment.
I am, and thank you all so much for being here. I'm so excited to see all my older siblings. We are the baby girls of the Divine Nine, and we take our rightful place because we get to be pretty spoiled. I can tell you that. But listen, I want to answer this question as positively as I can, but with that positivity comes honesty. I can tell you my 3 letters that I wear on my chest and in my heart look no different than the 3 letters that someone who came through a graduate process wear on their chest and on their heart. My 3 letters exemplify more than time. It does not matter when you came in. It doesn't matter if you were on an undergraduate campus, an HBCU, or like myself, a PWI. And for those of us who may not be familiar with that term, it just means predominantly white institution. When you are on those institutions, or whether you came in as a graduate or an alumni chapter or an undergraduate chapter, none of that stuff matters when you keep the model and you are dedicated to following in our founders' footsteps. If you are dedicated and willing to sacrifice time, effort, your talents, all of those wonderful things that that we all can contribute to our organizations, nobody cares. I don't. I want to have a sister no matter when she was born. I want to have brothers that I can walk alongside no matter when they were born. And I think that that's really important. I also think that the dynamic of the Divine Nine, or our NPHC, National Panhellenic Council members, it kind of goes organically. I can say that we all have an affinity to our own organization. Absolutely. But what also played a huge part in me joining a historically Black sorority, because mind you, I said I came on a campus that was predominantly white. So there are historically white sororities as well that I had the option of joining. But one of the main reasons that I say that I was attracted to as a 1st-generation college student, as the first person in my family to graduate college and have to explain what a sorority and a fraternity is to my family, I can tell you that having the other Divine Nine organizations as a part of the family, no matter if it was graduate or undergraduate, having that camaraderie, having that commitment is really what drives us apart from other organizations. And that includes time as to when you became a part of the organization. Whether you're a neophyte, which means new member from 2 days ago or a year ago, or whether you were a neophyte when years ago when you came into your organization, that matters not. What matters most is if you are walking out the tenets of our organization. And when you came in, I don't care. I just want you to love me so much so that I can love you even harder. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, thank you for that, Denise. Melvin, I think you have a comment as well.
Yeah, this is in the spirit of Jess. Our honorable sister from Delta Sigma Theta, Miss Akins, she slid in a little jab to everybody. I don't know if they caught it. She said the 6-digit membership card. So, you know, I just wanted to say, okay, I caught that. Okay.
I think you're going to have to explain it to me. So what is the jab with the 6-digit membership card?
That represents the number of financial members they have in their organization. So they have 6 digits worth of and as most of us will, I'll be honest, that's something that, you know, a lot of our organizations struggle with, and hats off to the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha and Delta Sigma Theta, and our sisters as well, Zeta Phi Beta, and the SG Rose. The sororities really do a phenomenal job at recruitment, retention, and keeping their members financial. And I just, yeah, when she said that, I was like, okay, shots fired. I can't say anything but bow down, because that's
It wasn't intended to be that.
Well, now I'm curious, which organization is actually the largest worldwide?
See, there you go.
There you
Well,
go.
no.
I'm just asking because I don't know.
I'm turning my camera.
No, don't turn it off. But you could put your hand down so I know that you're not asking the other question. So who's the largest?
Speak to that. I can tell you that in Alpha Kappa Alpha, we have over 300,000 members globally.
So here, Delta Sigma Theta, we have over 350,000 members.
Nice.
Okay, so that's globally. Do those numbers translate into the United States and her territories? Is it the same?
I can speak for my territory, which is the Far West region, covering 9 states and 2 countries. I have about 5,000 members just in the Far West region.
Right, and I have just over 4,000 members in. We're not in international in the Far West, but I have her same 9 states, and they're 4,000 members, a little over 4,000 members.
Well, I absolutely think it's fantastic that there is a global presence for sororities. Patricia, I think you were getting ready to say something.
I was just going to say that in the Pacific region, which kind of mirrors the Far West region of the other 2 organizations, we have slightly over 1,000 members of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And our area includes Korea, Japan, Okinawa, as well as the West Coast.
Fantastic.
All right,
And I was just going to say,
who wants to go next?
Omega Psi Phi fraternity has over 100,000 members on the rosters. Unfortunately, again, as I was mentioned, our retention rate or active rate is slightly below that, but we certainly 600 grad chapters, 180 undergrad chapters across the international region. We do have international chapters in the Bahamas, Bermuda, Canada, China, Germany, Ghana, Italy, Japan, Korea, Mexico, Panama City, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and United Arab Emirates.
Fantastic, fantastic. Someone else.
I was just going to say, Sigma Gamma Rho, like I said, we are the youngest, but I'm not using that for any other reason but to say that we have a lot to follow. We have some great siblings, older siblings, and we follow in their footsteps as well. But I want our audience and the folks out there to be prayerfully mindful of is though we are really excited about the numbers, because numbers means power. We saw that in the polls. We saw that when we went out to vote, that numbers do mean power, but that is meaningless when you don't have an experience that is such a worthy and true, honest and transparent experience. And so when you talk about these numbers, that these are all people that we can call our brothers, our sisters, our siblings, but don't let these huge numbers deter you if you are if you're looking for a home in a Greek letter organization, or if you have a family member, a daughter, a son, anyone, a friend that is looking to invest in research of our organizations. These numbers are not for numbers' sake. Those numbers, and I'm so grateful to my big sisters on this call, because that shows how much our organizations have invested in individual members to make a collective body that is phenomenal. And we have gone so far all over the world, And it's not just because we have a military presence. We absolutely do. In all of our organizations, we have military, we call them poodles in boots. We have military presence all over the world. But these chapters were not just set up because someone was stationed there. It's because there was a need, a desire, and an impact in those particular global interest areas. And so these are exciting times that we can continue to add, but we can also continue to go back and reclaim sorors is what we call sorority sister, sorors and fraternity brothers, frators is what we will call each other in a formal setting. But we can go back and reclaim those siblings and say, yes, you may have gone away from the organization for a short time or even a long time, but you always have a home. And that number that you talked about, that my sister Akins talked about on your membership card, that is meaningful. It's not just a number. It's a human being that has a heartbeat, that has those 3 letters in our organization stamped on it. And we hope it's signed, sealed, and delivered, not just by each other, but by God as well.
Well, I can tell you it's exciting to hear the range, the depth, the scope that you all are reaching. I think I saw Dondrell's hand. I think I saw Shelby's hand. And Tim, I think you were getting ready to say something as well. If I'm wrong, that's all right. So we'll go from go to Dondrell, Shelby, and then if it was you, Tim, yes, and if not, cool. All right, sir.
Well, let me start by just claiming this for everyone, that I had the opportunity to go to college with Denise. And so I encouraged her way back then. So the fruit of my labor you see on full display today with her outstanding articulence and representation of Sigma Gamma Rho sorority. And I've always appreciated my sister. And the passion that you see in her today was every bit present when we were in college. And I want to tie a couple of things here, is that when we talk about development and joining our organizations and the organizations evaluating things in us, they are looking for talent. And all of those predominantly white sororities and African-American sororities that had their eye on Denise because she was clearly talented in college, as I'm sure so many of the others who are on this Zoom here are today. But we want members who stand out inside of our organizations because we want them to live out our mission. And while all of us have different words, at the end of the day, every one of them gets right down to the heart of impacting African-American communities. Now, all of us welcome folks of different ethnic backgrounds into our organization, but everyone needs to be friendly and sympathetic to the plight of African-Americans in any country. And so we can brag about numbers, and you will not hear any fraternity getting into the conversation about numbers and sororities. That ain't gonna happen. And so while we laugh about that, it really does also highlight a real issue, which is African-American men matriculating to college, finding their place, and being nestled in responsible ways, right? And we are all struggling with that, not in terms of growing our numbers, because the men don't brag about big numbers. We brag about the work that we do. And the sororities do both. They brag about the work they do and their numbers, right? We just leave that part off. But we need to continue to find spaces to help our African-American men matriculate. And again, college is not for everyone, but for those who maybe are still struggling with the choice, I'm happy to welcome them into a college environment where they can at least put themselves in a position to make the best choice for themselves. And if you get a few years of college and then decide you want to be a plumber, well, that's fine, because you could also go on to own a plumbing business. But when you're not sure and you don't make a decision, you sit on mama's couch while you're trying to figure that out. That's not the level of productivity that we want. And so all of our male organizations are still striving to pull more and more African-American men in. So as I mentioned earlier, for all of you sororities with 350,000, encourage some of your boyfriends to go join the fraternities as well.
That sounds like a good word. Shelby, you were going to say something.
Well, I feel like this is a perfect time to talk about the numbers, not only in Alpha Kappa Alpha, but as a Divine Nine that actually sent the first African-American woman to the White House, right? So the first vice president, it's not surprising that Sora Kamala is is a member of the Divine Nine, and I am her classmate. We attended Howard at the same time, you know, and had many of the same experiences. But I think the what guided us during that time was definitely being social activists, definitely being in the community. I mean, Kamala very early was out as we were doing and she was like out in the community doing other sit-ins, right? So she had a whole nother thrust going on.
Were you going to say something, Tim?
What I would say is that anybody looking to join any of our organizations, remember this, that when you decided to go to college, you did all this work in high school to be able to get into college. Once you got accepted into college, you didn't just show up at the college door and say, I have my letter of acceptance and I don't have to do anything anymore because I got it. Because if you don't do that and you don't do the work of college, they would boot you out. Unfortunately, you know, we don't do that in our organization. We won't boot you out, but you have to really think about it. It's not about just getting those letters on your chest and say, I got those letters on my chest. And so now I am a member of this organization, and for perpetuity, I can just say that I'm a member. We all, in all of our organizations, discourage that. We call those people, you know, t-shirt wearers. And we discourage just the promotion of our letters for the sake of promotion. The letter should mean something to you, and it should mean that you're going to be of service to other individuals who look like you for the purpose of elevating those who look like you and humanity. And it goes further than just your individual letters. We collaborate on the Divine Nine all the time. I get a call from Tracy or Dondrell. I see Tracy, I see Dondrell, because we sit on the same stages at each other's regional and national meetings. And so we are a brother and a sisterhood inside of our own individual brothers and sisterhood. So it's not about I'm a Kappa, and so all I need to be concerned with is Kappa Alpha Psi, and you know, forget everybody else. It doesn't work that way. When you become a part of the body of the Panhellenic Greekdom, you're part of the body. And so you have to understand that. Now find which part of the body you want to be involved with, but understand that little part of the body is there to make the whole body stronger.
Very well said. So what does it take to join? I've heard you say that there's this application process. So do you screen applicants? Is there a possibility that an applicant can be rejected? What helps somebody become a good applicant to be a part of your organization?
Great question, Pastor. And I think you're going to get 9 different answers to that question, but there's going to be some common themes.
Okay.
One is we're looking for talent, right? We're looking for people that are going to not just take from the organization, but are coming to give to the organization and want to impact our communities. Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time at the alumni level, you're going to need at least a bachelor's degree.
Okay.
Everybody's organization has a hefty price tag to get involved with. So you're gonna
when you say a hefty price tag, give me a range. You don't have to land on a number, but what's a range?
I think the minimum is going to be somewhere around $600, and
that's cheap.
I just really thought you were going to say 6,000.
No. That would.
I'm thinking it's in the thousands, so I'm way high. I've saved up a good amount of money.
Some organizations it is in the thousands.
No, I said at the minimum, and you jumped in right there. I think that's the minimum for 1 or 2, but most of them are going to be probably in the $1,000 to $2,000 range just for the application.
And then you can turn me down after I pay that money.
No.
You get it back.
We would not accept your money.
Okay, well, praise the Lord for that.
Omega does not give refunds.
But I like
Pastor
that
Stewart,
idea, Pastor. We could start doing that, you know.
Pastor Stewart,
Yes.
to answer the question a little bit differently, yes, there is a cost involved, but all of our organizations are by invitation only. So if you are interested in becoming a member of the organizations, the membership is not just an application process. You
Okay.
have to be extended an invitation to join, and then all of that information will have been presented to you, the qualifying information, as well as the financial obligation. And what else you need to understand is that you've heard it throughout our discussion today, that this is a lifelong commitment. So the reason we are by invitation only is because it has to be a good match for both the organization and the pursuing member. And because once you join, this is for the rest of your life. And so there are costs associated with this, just like at the beginning, throughout your lifetime as a member. So we just try to make sure that we evaluate those people who are interested and expressed an interest in our organization in such a way that they have an understanding of all of those pieces, not just the financial obligation, but the process to become a member, the invitation, and the lifelong commitment.
Okay. And Pastor Stewart, I
Yes.
just want to jump in and say this. Even though we have our own individual process of how to become a member, I always like to say that's really the easiest part of all of this, because we're going to tell you how much to pay, what letters to write, what to wear, where to be, what time to be there. All of that's a part of the membership intake process. But once you become a member, it's all up to you at that point.
That's where the work begins.
That is
The real work.
where
The real work.
That's where the real work begins.
The
What are
rubber
you
meets the
willing
road.
to do for the organization? Are you now, oh, I got my letters and now I'm just going to sit to the side? Because remember, I have nothing to hold over you at this point. I can't make you show up because you already have the letters. So it's an internal conversation with you. Once you have the letters, how active are you now going to be?
Yeah.
Or you just gonna have your nice license plate, your wonderful t-shirt, but yet when somebody say, oh, can you write a letter for me? You're like, oh no, I'm not financial, I can't write a letter for you. So you have to make that decision once you do become a member, because once you are a member, that's where the real stuff is at.
So I am curious, has any of your organizations started having conversation about transgender individuals being a part of your organization?
So I can definitely say Delta Sigma Theta, yes, we've had those conversations. And so how we have it worded on the application is very simple. Do you identify as female? One simple question, that's it. You check the box, you move forward. You don't check the box, you don't move forward. Very simple.
Fantastic.
The
Well-
same holds true for Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. We just asked the question. We are an organization for women, and if you check that box, then you continue on. Because again, you would have been extended an invitation to even fill out that application.
I mean, that's our statement, that the sorority is for women. And so if you identify as a woman, then you can apply as well.
I told you, so far so good. Absolutely. Does it get even better? Absolutely. So join us next week for the continued conversation with this group of 9 fantastic people, the Divine 9, on From Surviving to Thriving. Let me pray for you. God, we do love you. We praise you for this opportunity to be together. I thank you, God, that you give guidance and direction to our organizations. I say our, and I mean that. Thank you for them. Thank you for how you use them. Thank you for how you use every member of every organization. Thank you, God, for 9 exemplary organizations that highlight the best, the good, and the greatness of our communities. Thank you, God. So for those tasks that they have before them, I pray, God, that you give them wisdom and you expand their territory, even in a COVID-19 environment. I love you, God. I praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. So this is what you got to do. You got to click subscribe. You can subscribe to my or First Institutional's YouTube channel or follow us on Facebook. That way you'll never miss an episode and you won't miss next week when we finish this conversation. Yes, when we finish this conversation with the Divine Nine on surviving to thriving. God bless you. Have a good night. I must give a full, huge, heartfelt thank you to Marquise Scott. I did a message to Marquise and said, I want to do a show on the Divine Nine. Can you help me coordinate that? He didn't just help me. He really coordinated it. These 9 representatives that you will see from these 2 weeks are because of his work and his relationships. Thank you, Marquise, for pulling this off for me. I couldn't have this show if it were not for you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I owe you big time, my brother, and I pray the Lord expands your territory. Hi, and welcome to another episode of From Surviving to Thriving. I'm excited because today I am talking to 9 representatives of Black Greek organizations. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. The Divine Nine is with me today. Listen, it was a great conversation. It was so good that this is going to be a 2-parter. Trust me. It was good, and I don't think you want to miss any of it. So it's a 2-parter of From Surviving to Thriving, a conversation with the Divine Nine. Because we really want to hear from each one of you. We are going to go in age order of your organization. If you can give a 1 to 1.5 minute speech about your organization and why someone would want to be affiliated if they were looking at this and trying to decide what organization to join. So the eldest can go first.
Well, thank you. We always take our rightful place as the first on up in here to get started. So no, I'm just kidding, but I'm serious. Pastor Alpha Phi Alpha, and we take great pride in having started a lot of this Black Greek letter organization stuff on college campuses and at Cornell University in 1906. My name again is Dondrell Swanson, and I am our Western Region Vice President. I sit on the board of directors for Alpha, and like many others, I oversee 10 states out here in the West and a couple countries, including Japan, Korea. We also have, some Canadian chapters, Alaska, internationally, but under the Western region, those are some things under my specific purview. And in terms of why one might want to be interested in Alpha Phi Alpha, we have a lot of things that are going on that are impacting our community that we think are important and relevant. If you have a true inspiration to be great and to be associated with greatness, if you want to be in a multi-dimensional organization that is appealing from 18 to 98 and doing work, advancing our community, Alpha Phi Alpha might be a great opportunity for you. So check us out.
Wonderful. All right. Who's next?
Well, that brings us to the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, founded in 1908 on the campus of Howard University, my alma mater. I am the Far Western Regional Director of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I do sit on the board. I have responsibility for 9 states in the western part of the country. And what I would say is that Alpha Kappa Alpha has a commitment to service to all mankind. If that is aligned with your ideals about what you should do with your time and talent, know that Alpha Kappa Alpha is a place where you can certainly serve your community. You will be developed and show up as a leader, and you will also be affiliated with the organization that is whose member is the Vice President of the United States of America.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. And who's next?
Well, well, they say the best for third. My name is Tim Woods. I am the province poll mark for the Western province of Kappa Alpha Psi, which encompasses 10 states, 2 international chapters. We were founded on the campus of Indiana University, January 5th, 1911. Our fundamental purpose is achievement. We look for men who want to achieve in college and achieve after college, a place of usefulness in this world. I would encourage anybody who wants to be a member of Kappa Alpha Psi to do your research. We have Kappa Alpha Psi 1911.com that you can find out who we are and what we stand for. And if that's an organization that has the same principles, objectives, and stands for the same things that you stand for, then it might be the right fit for you. If it's not, then I would hope that you would find an organization that would be the right fit for you.
All right, fantastic. All right, who's next?
All right, you got me batting cleanup as usual. I'm Andrew Davis. I'm the first Vice District Representative of the 12th District of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. That encompasses the 10 most Western contiguous states, including Alaska. And a person who is interested in joining Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, I would tell you to, first of all, go to our website, www.oppf.org, www.oppf.org, and look at the information there. There's information regarding our organization, what we stand for, what we hold as mandated programs. But I will also tell you that this organization, one of the things that you'll see is that we were founded on friendship. This organization, again, as our founders saw that as a critical aspect of what would make us as an organization continue to thrive past 100 years. Friendship is our secret special power, as I called it. It helps us to hold and be cohesive in terms of our relationship. We rise above political aspect and self-aggrandizement seen in so many organizations when you are part of if you have been the benefit of being part of other organizations. But what I'm looking for and what Omega's looking for is this. If you are a person who has some God-given talents, and all of us do, and you're looking to use those God-given talents to help level the playing field for those who are a little less fortunate than you are, again, we are blessed, especially as college-educated men. It's our duty to reach back and help those who are less fortunate than we are. And if that's something that, again, that's in your heart and you're imbued with that desire to serve, we can magnify that through Omega. And that's really what we're looking for. So we continuously survey the area, and we look for those individuals who exhibit those types of characteristics, and then you are selected, and we then try to determine whether or not, again, you can be friendly, again, because, again, friendship is essential to the soul, and that's what the basis of our organization is all about. So for me, that's the essence of what we're looking for in a recruit.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you. All right, who's next?
That would be me. I am Tracy Ricard Akins, Diamond Life member and Far West Regional Director, where I manage activity for 9 states and 2 countries with 94 chapters, 39 being collegiate and 55 being alumni, with an area membership of almost 5,000. If you passionately believe in public service and social action mixed with unmatched sisterhood, this is the place for you. If you believe in an organization of college-educated women committed to the constructive development of its members and to public service with a primary focus on the Black community, this is the place for you. Do you want to make a difference on your campus? Do you want to make a difference in your community? If so, this is the place for you. For those attending a PWI, if you are seeking a way to reimagine your collegiate experience and create your own Black experience, this is the place for you. An organization committed to social action since 1913. We are the largest female-owned and operated private, not-for-profit business in America, with the national president and CEO, Beverly Evans Smith. We are Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. This is the sisterhood for you.
Thank you very, very much.
Man.
I'm a little overwhelmed. All right, who is next? Who is next?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yay. Well, Pastor Stewart, I don't even know where to begin after that illustrious advertisement, commercial, infomercial, and everything else. I mean, that blew me away. However, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, I am the president of the local chapter here, the Alpha Epsilon Sigma chapter. Here locally, we've grown our chapter over 127% in a COVID year. We've performed over 1,500 community service hours in a COVID year, and we are extending our outreach into the community. That's just a part of what we do internationally. We have over 150,000 college-educated, conscientious men dedicated to brotherhood, scholarship, and service, focused on the inclusive we instead of the exclusive we. So being the only party up on this call that can say we're constitutionally bound to our lovely sisters of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. If you're looking for a true family bond where you can do the true blue and white photo, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, son, daughter, we're for you. Come see us. We love to have you in our organization. We're looking for leaders. We're looking for men that are passionate about brotherhood, improving their communities, and uplifting our society as a whole.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I am so glad we got you back on. All right, who's next?
Here I am, right behind my brothers of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated was founded on the campus of Howard University on January 16, 1920. And since that date, we have been an organization bound to the principles of scholarship, service, sisterhood, and finer womanhood. Our entire being is wrapped around the service to others. If you are interested in joining an organization that through its individuality, diversity, and professionalism takes college-educated women and turns them into sisters, then Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated is that organization for you. We are the only organization that has a constitutional bond to another Greek letter organization. Our brothers of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated were the founding principle for us. They were our foundation. They came to our founders and asked that we create this organization, and we were supported by the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority at Howard University. 7 years later, they welcomed us to the campus, and Zeta Phi Beta Sorority just completed our centennial year, over 100 years of service to our communities around the world.
Fantastic. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, who's next?
Well, thank you so much. Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated was founded November 12, 1922. And we were founded by 7 beautiful educators, school teachers. The interesting thing about Sigma Gamma Rho is we have some amazing big sisters, as I've alluded to, but we are the only sorority that was founded on a PWI at Butler University in Indianapolis, Indiana. Not only that, but Butler University at that time, the campus was right across the street from the known Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. And so our 7 founders not only risked their lives in order to create the organization that we know now as Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. But they also paved the way and gave opportunity to other international organizations and multicultural organizations who are also later going to be founded on predominantly white institutions. What also sets us apart, not necessarily sets us apart, I don't want to say that. I want to say that what makes Sigma Gamma Rho unique to me is that we look at the whole woman from birth all the way until the time that we can see our glorious God. And when we say that, we mean we have affiliate organizations within our organization. The first is called the Rosebuds, and those are our little tiny sisters. They're the youngest ones in our organization, all the way up to 11 years old. And then we have rowers, who are our 12-year-olds to 18-year-olds. And those are the young ladies that we are grooming for college and grooming for a rites of passage to be the woman that she needs to be and take her rightful place on this earth as a leader and a trendsetter. Then we have our Philos, and our Philos are women who, for whatever reason, either did not go to college or they were women that did not complete their college degrees, things like that. And they have a place. Those are our friends. And they too are great assets to our organization and to the world. And then, of course, the sisters, the sorors of Sigma Gamma Rho, which you can join at any time in your collegiate years as well as post-baccalaureate. We're excited to be the organization that lives by our motto of greater service, greater progress. Now, I don't know if Sigma Gamma Rho is for you. I do know that you can find a place with one of our 4 organizations. I can guarantee you that. I can also tell you that greater service, greater progress means a lot to us. So much so that we know having a friend can be a lifesaver. And I can guarantee you that you will have a friend in Sigma. So thank you so much for all of the wonderful work that you as an individual person are doing in lives around you. Let's just hook up and let's find our place in the Divine Nine organization. I'll be happy to guide you to your home.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think we're now at you, TR.
Yes, my name's TR Badger. I'm state director of Gamma Sigma Omega here in Phoenix. My role is looking after all over the chapters of this state. How I would introduce myself and converse with a young man that's interested in IOTA. I would first ask them this question: what do you feel like that you can give as far as your talents and contribution to society that you can leave on this earth better than you came in? Because we all have a talent, we all have a mindset, we all have a certain contribution that we can give to this society and earth based upon the times that we live in this climate, that each of us can give something to our community and to our environment globally. So for Iota Phi Theta, we're a group of men that believe in the model of building a tradition and not resting upon one. We definitely love to have you as a brother if you're interested, because it's twofold. It's not just about, what can an organization do for you, but how can you make the organization better? Because there's always a cultivation process. And if you feel like you can look in the mirror and say that, how can I be better? And you see an organization that could help reflect those characteristics and goals that you have, hopefully Iota Phi Theta will be the one that could help you grow as a man. And all the other organizations are doing the same as well. What is distinguished of us about Iota Phi Theta is that we were founded in 1963 at Morgan State University by 12 founding fathers, some who are still living with us today, which is significant and we can learn from. So in conclusion, we're all about, togetherness. We're all about inclusion. We're all about equal opportunity. We're also about empowerment. And so anybody that wants to join our organization, the 5 main principles that we build upon as far as our model to make ourselves not just a better iota, but a better man, first and foremost, is scholarship, which is education, leadership, which is us helping you become a better leader within your own community and your environment, citizenship, as far as representing yourself and where you come from, fidelity, having the integrity amongst and the respect, not just for others, but for yourself. And number one, brotherhood. Because at the end of the day, no one can succeed alone. We all can succeed together. We can cross that finish line together.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you, each and every one of you. What a fantastic conversation this has been. I have learned a lot about your organizations and about how you're managing life today and how things have changed. So thank you, each and every one of you, for making the time to spend it with me. I hope you all have a blessed day. And I think somebody just might join your organization because of this conversation.
Thank you, Pastor Stewart.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, hold on a moment. I need you to start from the beginning with that statement again. Okay, there you go.
So the unique thing about the Divine Nine of the regional directors of the Western region of the United States, 3 of them reside in the Phoenix metro area. So myself, a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, Tracy, a member of Delta Sigma Theta, and Dondrell, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. We are the directors for our organization. So a third of that is in Phoenix. That is unique to have all, that much of the Divine Nine power structure in one place.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Tracy, I want to go back to something you said earlier, because so there's some animosity to the church?
Not animosity.
Or there's, what what was it that prompted your statement?
So my statement comes, and my original statement was, thank you for allowing Black Greek letter organizations to have this platform in front of a faith-based group of people. And I say that because in the past year, I have received several denouncements. Denouncements meaning people are no longer interested in membership in my organization, Delta Sigma Theta, because of religious reasons. They somehow may think that we're a cult. And I find that to be disturbing, at least, and heartbreaking, because I know that Delta Sigma Theta was founded on Christian principles.
That's amazing to me.
Yes, but it's happening. It is happening. So that's why I say thank you so much for giving us this opportunity, because we are not a cult. Again, we're founded on Christian principles, and this is where everything begins for us. We don't start any activity or event without thanking somebody of a higher power. So thank you for giving that to us.
Could it be because, okay, so this is me and my ignorance, and I have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am extraordinarily ignorant in this conversation. So thank you for your patience with me. But I always hear, and it might not be the case now, but there are these aspects of becoming a member of the organization that is secretive. Is that still the case? And could that be the tension of it feeling like it was kind of cult-like?
Well, let me say this real quick. And then
now we're gonna pop off hot. See, now we're gonna pop off hot. All right.
Each organization has a ritualistic initiation. Every organization has that. And you can go to. I'm a member of another organization, and they've had them as well. What happens is that people get into the organization, and like any organization, it's a microcosm of society, and people do different things. And then what people try to do is they try to blame their behavior on the organization. And it's not. Just like Tracy said, we were all founded by God-fearing people. In Kappa Alpha Psi, it says in our history, we were founded by God-fearing, clean living men. But there are individuals who have been in our organizations who maybe they drink too much. Maybe they might cuss too much. They might do something, but people want to blame that on their affiliation with the organization. The organization has nothing to do with that, because we have as many of those people as we do have pastors and faith-based leaders and everybody else. So I don't know why they try to blame it on the organization, but it truly is not the organization.
So,
Melvin wants to say something.
so Pastor Stewart and guest, coming from the son of a Baptist preacher in North Carolina, grandfather, uncles, all those guys, none of them belonged to fraternities or were Masons or anything like that. And when I joined at 27 and broke that tradition, those are the same questions. Many, I can tell you, in communities of color and in churches of color, it comes down to the first commandment and the interpretation of putting someone else before God. And again, as Brother Wood said, you know, organizations are processes, and those in them are microcosm of society at large. So people in society interpret things to fit their circumstances and to fit their perception of their reality. So all our organizations were founded on Christian principles. Most of our founders, if not, were pastors or have ties to the church. And many of our most prominent members have been members of the church. If you look at the picture of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on the balcony there at the hotel, you'll see Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Alpha. You'll see Reverend Jesse Jackson Jr., an Omega. You'll see Reverend Hosea Williams, Sigma. So, you know, and you'll see Reverend Dr. Ralph Abernathy. So I apologize. My apologies. So I just say that because the very leaders that have led our struggles and have been the ones that had the dogs sicked on them, taking the water hoses, the batons, the bullets, the lynchings, led the church, and they led our organizations. So that is where the biggest issue with many people come. They come into a newfound belief in something, and they have to extract the bad from their behavior, and it gets linked and confused with the church and what we do. I'm off my pulpit.
I think it's very interesting. This is the first time, and I'm old. Well, I am old. I'm older than most people think. That I've heard anybody explain the men on the balcony.
Yes.
By their affiliate. I would have never known that. Whenever I hear about fraternities, more so than sororities, but sororities might have the same reputation, I hear negative, stereotypical statements about them. How do you all live that kind of stuff down and help people see just what Melvin said? I mean, that is a powerful statement that 4 of the 5 male fraternities were on the balcony. That's fantastic to me. I mean, that's a story in and of itself.
And the 5th was started partially because of that balcony.
Wow.
So,
wow. But you don't hear that. You never hear that.
Well, let me say, my good brother Tim Wood said it earlier. We can talk about the picture on the balcony, but as Tim said, you can go back to historically to every significant movement impacting African-American people. And we can look at photos and pick out members of the organizations that you see represented here today. And I dare say that if you go and poll your church, for those who have gone to college, your deacon board, your ministers, etc., they will be associated with Black Greek letter organizations. So the fabric and the thread that binds the fabric of the African-American community in many ways continues to be sewn through Black Greek letter organizations. You cannot have a conversation about anything relative to the plight and success of African-Americans that has not been touched by African-American Black Greek letter organizations. And just to loop that back to this conversation about the church, we talked about many of our members and our founding members being associated with the church, but many of us had our first meeting in churches
Mhm.
or in halls in connection, and needed to be approved by pastors in some cases to allocate the space for us to do what we had to do. Because you have to think back when our organizations were founded, gatherings of African Americans like us, like we were interested in, were illegal.
Yes. Yes.
And
I
the
crossed at a
partnerships.
church.
The
Yes. In
and the
Kappa Alpha Psi,
partnerships.
in Kappa Alpha Psi, until I crossed in 1990. I was the last group of individuals to actually pledge Kappa. But before me, if you were initiated into Kappa Alpha Psi in Arizona, in the Phoenix area, you crossed at Southminster Presbyterian Church.
Mercy.
You crossed at Reverend Brooks Church, who was a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. He's a 1953 initiate. You crossed at that church.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
Well, I think Patricia and Tracy both wanted to say something. I don't want to miss
I was
your
just going to say the partnerships too.
Yeah.
Even today, obviously, historically, there's always been amazing partnerships between Black churches and Black Greek letter organizations. But even today, we continue to do that kind of work. And as Sora Aiken said, we have all been founded on Christian principles. Here in Tucson, we have a partnership with several of the churches here, but one in particular has sponsors a Greek Day where all the Greek letter organizations, all the MPHC organizations come together, and we do community service together along with the church. It's the church's community project. We join with them. And so, we individually do that kind of thing all the time with our chapters, to have the opportunity to have a church invite us to participate as a collective group. And we do our community service project. We do a mentoring kind of it looks kind of like speed dating, but the young people come around and meet with each organization. And because as Sora TrimbleSmith mentioned, we also have auxiliary groups. All of the organizations have auxiliary groups for youth and other young men, mentoring young men. So we have an opportunity to meet with them and share information about how these students can get connected to our auxiliary organizations. So that partnership between the churches and the Black Greek letter organizations goes back to our founding, but it continues today because we're here to serve our communities.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Tracy, you were going to say something as well?
I was going to say, when your question earlier was, how do we address the negative, to try to take it and turn that into a positive. And I think it is with the partners, as you indicated. In Delta, we have 8 charitable partnerships with some prominent organizations, and I'll just elaborate on 2. But first is the March of Dimes. This year, for our Founders Day, March of Dimes was our devoted charitable partner of interest. And we were able to raise over $185,000 for the March of Dimes. So to us, that is what we do to get over that stereotypical, they don't do anything but party. That's so untrue. Service is at the core of what we do. And then my other one, because today is February 5th, Heart Day, go red. You gotta get your heart in. So the American Heart Association, everybody should be wearing a touch of red today, because go red.
No, that is absolutely
March of Dimes. You trying to get the Zetas over there fired up, because they always on that March of Dimes program.
Just one more thing about the March of Dimes, since I see my brother here too. The reason we chose the March of Dimes is because one of our beloved founders, Edna Brown Coleman, she died in childbirth. And as you very well know, my brother, her husband was a member of Omega Psi Phi.
Yes, he was.
Yes,
he was.
That was our aim this year. Again, we did phenomenal, over $185,000.
I do want to just offer this, though, that a lot of those negative comments are frequently they come from people who are uninformed. They just really don't know about what we do and how we do it. I mean, we wear letters and we have fun wearing letters, but there is so much that happens that nobody goes, hey, that's an alpha, or hey, that's a delta, or whatever have you. I mean, every time we look on the news and see African-American people, we know one of our organizations is in that group of folks. And Soror Akins is right. We do community service work. I just want to take a second and plug this book right here. This book right here is a coloring book that we literally here in the Western region, we paid, had an illustrator, had it written, and inside of this book are famous African Americans. And this is a program where we go to schools and read to young people, like the 3rd grade and 4th grade, and we leave them, and we always say this is an engagement opportunity, not a distribution opportunity. So we don't just go hand the books off. And we talk about all these famous African-American men and women and leave them with this positive image. Now, when we created this program, to your point, Soror Akins, about doing positive in the community, we really wanted to have some real positive input and positive deposits into African-American kids. What we have learned is that we have far more positive impact in kids who are not African-American.
Right,
Hey, Brother
It's not hard to do out in Arizona, but I mean, collectively, we all have to work to continue.
We go to schools and there'd be like 10 African-American kids and 30, 40 non-African-American kids, and they are just so impressed by this. And you know,
yes. And I need you to know, I need the book.
I got you.
Hey, Dondrell.
I was about to say, Brother Swanson, you need to let us know, because I would love to have that. I would love to have that.
I got the hookup inside of Alpha with these books. So anybody who happens to, want to do something with them, I've got a couple of, go ahead, Melvin.
Hey, can we partner together on a community service project with that?
Yes, that sounds good.
So we have a similar project to that called Room to Read that we're doing with an NGO who's been doing it in Africa, and it's a national project, similar to the same thing with the books. And once this COVID situation is over with, we're going to bring that project out to all of the various cities. I know we have it in LA. We'll be doing it with LA Unified, but we'll bring it out here as well. And those who want to partner with us, you're more than welcome to do so. But Pastor Stewart, this is the type of stuff that we do. So when people say the negative, this is what we do. We partner with one another. At this stage of the game, we look at it like we're grown folks, So we understand that we have to work together to do things. And one of the things I would offer to you, which would be interesting to see in your own church is, and we've done this, Brother Davis knows this, Swanson as well, is like our pastor has had a Greek Divine Nine service where he basically said, wear your Greek paraphernalia to church.
Mm-hmm.
And you will find a lot of folks that you were like, oh, I didn't even know that person was a member of an organization, who would just pop up, and you'll understand why. Oh, this is why this person is involved in this activity and that activity and that activity, and it breeds from that service of being in that Divine Nine organization.
Yeah, and I'm not even
coming down to First Institutional, feeding the homeless on a regular basis.
I was going to say, I see alphas and I see omegas down at FI.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Smith keeps us busy down there.
What you don't see is all of us running to the news media to say, hey, look, this is what we're doing. This is just an intrinsic part of who we are and what we do in all these organizations. And so sometimes the negative stuff you hear, these people don't even know what all these folks are doing. And they're not looking for press, because this is who we are.
Right.
Yeah.
I like to say that we fill in the gap. You see and hear about all of the larger nonprofit organizations and service organizations, but we are what people have said are grassroots. We fill in the gap. We help where others may not be able to or even know that help is needed. So, for example, Pastor Stewart, if your church needs some people to help support an effort that you have, this is where you come. You come to us. We will fill in the manpower or woman power. We will fill in fiscally if we can. We'll do what you need us to do to support our communities. And I know for Zeta Phi Beta and all of the organizations, we do this work in our communities. And as Dondrell said, we don't, Brother Swanson said it so succinctly, we don't go and just broadcast it all across the news. We just do the work. It's intrinsically who we are. Should we maybe do a better job of sharing what we do? Sure. But we don't want to do it and make it appear that we're bragging or boastful. We do it because we care about our communities and we want to help. And so we've been there on the balcony. We've been there in the marches. We've been there in the schools, whether you knew we were there or not.
And I can just tell you as a campus professional, I often will have conversations with parents who are nervous, to get back to your question, with regards to how do we overcome the negative stigmas or the negative thoughts about Greek letter organizations. This is not just our historically African-American sororities and fraternities, it's also our historically white fraternities and sororities, as well as our culturally based fraternities and sororities. I can tell you that it is always a conversation with parents, especially who are not a part of a Greek letter organization. And then some who are parts of Greek letter organizations because they remember what they did back in their day.
Right.
And I can tell you that it is an uphill battle to overcome the Hollywood portrayals of who we are as organizations. You can often hear folks talk about, oh, our Black Greek letter organizations are just glorified gangs. You will hear that often, and it's unfortunate. But I tell parents or anyone, especially on a collegiate campus, even students, I don't know very many gangs that are out there with March of Dimes, St. Jude's, the Swim 1922 program, all of the different programs and things that we do, the amazing Stork's Nest, the historic Stork's Nest, and things that we have done over the years. I don't understand where some people will run with it. And it's the same thing that is a stigma with regards to whether or not we're a cult. It's unfortunate, but usually that information is misinformation. And not only is it it's missed information. It's misinformation because we have a job to do as organizations as well to, like the word says, let our light so shine. So that men will see our good works and glorify our Father in heaven. We want to be able to portray ourselves in such a way that shows us in a good light. And then that in turn will guide folks who are outside of our organizations, seeking our organizations and within our organizations to turn their lives towards the Christian principles in which we were based on. No, you don't have to be a Christian in order to be a part of our organization. No, you don't. However, you do have to understand that that is what we stand for. And being glorified gangs is not it. Being a cult is not it. It's about service, it's about productivity, and letting our light shine so that all of our founders are pleased, but more than that, so that our Father in heaven or the God that you worship is pleased with what you're doing. And I think that that's important that we get across to not only parents, but any community member who is concerned about partnering with us. If anybody you can trust, it's us.
I would agree. And again, I know I share this with a lot of the chapters here in the 12th district is, again, it's our responsibility. We have to change the narrative, and we should not underestimate the power of social media. Again, the younger folks these days, again, you mentioned something that they don't know about. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to hit this phone and they're going to search you out on social media. Well, if the only thing that comes up is a guy in gold boots walking around with his pants sagging down and a dog collar on, then guess what image he's going to get. Yeah. So we're making a concerted effort, I know, at least within our organization, to document and to put out that information, the things that we're doing with our youth mentorship programs, the program with St. Jude, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. I myself am a Big Brother mentor, have been for the last 6 years. And I continue to always upload information, document my experiences with my little and the organization that I'm working within, and continue to try to shift and change that narrative. And that's something I stress that we all as organizations should continue to do and fill that social media with things other than just the negativity that's out there. And you'll begin to see the scales tip.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you again for hanging around way longer than I had anticipated keeping you. I appreciate this. You just don't even know. And this last bit of conversation has really, really been intriguing. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
really are gone this time. We really are.
All righty. Hey, my brothers and sisters.
Bye.
Take care. Good
Thank
to
you.
see everybody.
It's been a
Love
pleasure.
you all. Love you all.
What a
Love you
blessing.
all. Bye, everyone.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Let me pray for you. God, we do love you. We praise you for this opportunity to be together. I thank you, God, that you give guidance and direction to our organizations. I say our, and I mean that. Thank you for them. Thank you for how you use them. Thank you for how you use every member of every organization. Thank you, God, for 9 exemplary organizations that highlight the best, the good, and the greatness of our communities. Thank you, God. So for those tasks that they have before them, I pray, God, that you give them wisdom and you expand their territory, even in a COVID-19 environment. I love you, God. I praise you in Jesus' name.